Hey guys, here's your video for week 2, day 4, which is Thursday of the second week. As usual, you will go to your portal, Canvas, this class, and then your modules. So within the module for this week, you have week 2, day 4. How I'm going to try to do this from now on is to do a video lesson first. Then, if you have any questions after you try to do the work, I will have regular Zoom meetings every day. I'm going to start that this week just so we're used to that same schedule when I do start having face-to-face students in the classroom with me. So I want to show you those Zoom times right now. 7th grade, I'm open every morning from 7 to 8:30. And then my 7th grade virtual period is 1 to 1:30. 8th grade, you can join the same time in the morning, 7 to 8:30. And then my virtual class period for 8th grade is 10:20 to 10:50. So make sure you're checking those. I did post those on the class homepage, so just check those before you try to log into the Zoom. Okay, so once we're here, we're going to open up this Jamboard assignment, make your own copy. And your goal today, we've been working with proportional relationships for the past couple of weeks. Now it's time to take it to the next level. I want you to create your own proportional relationship. So before we can start that, we need to kind of think of a situation that has a constant rate of change, something that changes the same amount every time you do it. Okay. So one of our examples this week was 51 Talkies per bag. When you hear that term 60 miles per hour, that means you're traveling 60 miles in 1 hour. $3 for a dozen donuts. That price doesn't change, right? If you buy one dozen, it's going to be $3. If you buy another dozen, it's going to be $3 more. It is constant. It's a constant change. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to think of a situation that has a constant rate of change. Okay, so I hope you've had time to think about a situation. Feel free to use these to go off of, but don't use any of them exactly because I want you to have your own thinking on this, right? If you're just copying what I do, that's not going to help you learn anything. I want you to really make your own situation. So once you have your own situation, you can go on to slide 2. My situation that I thought of is something that is kind of swirling around in my brain a lot these past few weeks is how many kids am I going to be able to fit in my actual classroom? So in my classroom, I can fit about 12 students. And I'm sure that that's kind of constant within the school. Okay, so there are 12 students. So you have a place right here to put your number and your unit for every one classroom. So that's my situation. There's 12 students for every one classroom. One thing we haven't really talked about is the equation. When we build that equation, that number that represents the constant rate of change, that's called a slope. You might have heard about that in 6th or 7th grade. So I'm going to go ahead and write my equation right here. Y equals 12x. Okay, and your slope would be whatever your number is. It's how much the thing is changing every time. Currently mine is 12. Yours might be 50. Yours might be 100. It just depends on what your situation is. Describe how your situation is changing. This should say how right here. I'm going to kind of insert a little doohickey here. It should say describe how your situation is changing. And so I'm going to write down here, just since I kind of messed that up a little bit. My rate of change describes the number of students in a classroom. For each classroom that is added, and y'all just be aware, you can stretch this box out. I've seen a lot of y'all, like your answers are like all the way down. You can stretch it out if you need more room, okay? So for each classroom that is added, there are 12 more students that can fit into the school. Okay? Your situation doesn't have to sound exactly like mine. Describe it in your own words, okay? There's really no right or wrong answer as long as I can see that you are doing that thinking and building your brain up as we're working through this. Okay, so when we talk about X and Y, your X is going to be the independent variable. It comes first, right? So what do I have to have first? Classrooms or students? I would have to have those classrooms first before I could bring those students in. So my X value is going to be the classrooms. Your dependent variable is your Y, and your dependent variable changes depending on how your X variable changes. And that's really why it's called a dependent variable. It's depending on that other variable. So my dependent variable here is my number of students. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to grab a pen tool here. I'm going to start by working with 0, 0. Okay, that should be the first baseline of any proportional relationship, is that it starts at 0, 0. When I have 0 classrooms, I have 0 students. What about when I have 1 classroom? That's my unit rate. That is like the thing that we're basing our whole situation off of, is that unit rate. 1 classroom is 12 students. 2 classrooms would be 24 students. 3 classrooms is 36 students. One of the things that I saw some of y'all struggling with this week is how to kind of jump up to a new number, right? Y'all are awesome when it comes to like going straight in line, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Y'all got it. But when we start jumping up a little bit, that's when I see some of the confusion come in. Okay, so I'm going to kind of just show y'all how you can easily just jump up to a new number, and it's no big deal. It's kind of very similar to what we've been doing. So I'm going to go to 10. Let me show you how I would do that. So I know that every time we're going up here, we are adding 12. My change is in 12. When I'm going up here, my change is going up by 1. It's not only an additive relationship. I think that's where the confusion comes in. You think that you have to add on both sides. You don't have to add. It's also a multiplicative relationship, meaning that you can multiply to get to those numbers. So if I go from 1 to 10, I am multiplying by 10. So on the same, using that same scale factor, if I go from 12 to this number, I want to find this number, I would still multiply by 10, and I get 120. Okay, so don't be scared of those relationships. Instead of adding each line, it would be just multiplying bigger groups. Okay, so let's say we have 20 classrooms. 1 times 20 is 20. 12 times 20 is 240. Okay, so you feel free to make up your own numbers here. If you want to, even though we skipped ahead a few numbers, you can go back to going in sequential order. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so since these are only going up by ones over here, it would be going up by 12s over here. So 48, 60, 72, 84. Okay, now just like when we built our graph last week, you would need the title, x-axis, y-axis, create your scales, and then plot your data. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so you can see how to do this. But remember, you're doing this for your own data, so don't copy mine. You're going to be creating your own. Okay, so the title would be number of students in classrooms. Your title is basically just a summary of what you're talking about. You want someone to be able to tell if they haven't read anything about your data, they know what you're talking about in your graph or your table. Okay, label the x-axis. We've already determined that classrooms is our x variable or our independent variable. We have number of students as our dependent variable. You're going to create a scale. So let me grab my pen tool here. I went up to 20 classrooms, so I'm going to say, I'm going to probably go by twos. This will be 2, 4. So you want to kind of see how much you went up to. Your scale kind of depends on what data you would like to show. And see, I'm not even going to be able to go all the way up to 20, but at least you have a good idea of what my data will look like. You also need a scale for the y-axis. If I go back to my data here, my y goes up to about 84. Actually, if we look here in the middle, 240. So I think I'm going to go up by maybe 25s. And obviously, oh, did that wrong. Obviously, my handwriting is horrible on here. Y'all just got to give me some grace on that. And I will promise to do the same for you. So once again, my scale doesn't go all the way up to the top, but it does show a majority of the data here. Okay, I'm going to plot each point. So my data started at 0, 0, 0, 0, and then 112. And every time it goes up by 1, it goes up by 12. Over by 1, up by 12. Over by 1, up by 12. So it's almost on those 50 mark lines. Ooh, those dots are not very pretty, but y'all know what I'm doing here. 8 would be 96. Okay, and you want to keep going. It should create a line, okay? These are not exact, but you get my drift there. I can see that my data is proportional. The last thing you want to do on this assignment is I want you to write in your own words. As y'all can see already, we're only in the second week of school. I love for you to write. I don't care if you're spelling the words correctly. I don't care if you're doing your punctuation correctly. Here's what I care about. I want to know that you are thinking on your own and learning on your own, okay? Because that's what school is about. It's not about me telling you what to do and you do it exactly. It's about us growing our brains and learning how to problem solve on our own. So you will get your text box or you can write with the pen. What is the change in y and x for your situation? So for me, I'm going to give you just kind of a basic answer. that would describe mine. My change in Y is 12 students, and my change in X is 1 classroom. How does that represent your data? So it's basically asking, like, how does it describe what's going on in your situation? It tells me that every classroom in the school holds 12 students. If I have more classrooms, I will have more students. Every time I add a classroom, I am adding 12 students. So see how I said the same thing in multiple different ways, but they all relate back to my situation. Okay, guys, if you have any questions at all, remember you can inbox me or email me at amanda.walker@birdvilleschools.net. And I hope y'all are having a fantastic day. I love you guys, and I can't wait to see you next week. Bye.